And next, our session is Odia short story and its future. The panel discussion, and I invite Satya Mishra, Dipti Ranjan Patnaik to the stage. Before we get started, we will have a release of the book, The Life and Times of Banka Harichandan, written by Dipti Ranjan Patnaik, and I request Pradosh Mahanti to be with us for inauguration of this book, and the translator of the book, Professor Himanshu Mohapatra. Professor Himanshu Mohapatra, I request you to come to the stage. Sri Pradosh Mahanti.
The Life and Times of Banka Harichandan. Very autobiographical work in nature. You'll enjoy, I'm sure. I now request a very young girl who has come all the way from Banaras, having read this book, to speak for 5 minutes.
Wow. So, first of all, very warm greetings to this esteemed crowd. To be very honest, I have made a lot of speeches, but yesterday I was really awake the whole night thinking about the opening lines. Because, you see, just like our author of the day, he says that despite having received Sahitya Academy Award, he's still terrified by the blank pages that he finds when he's about to write something new. So I guess I too was terrified yesterday. And before we go to that, I would really like to thank everyone present here from the bottom of my heart, all the dignitaries, all the esteemed speakers, esteemed audience, along with everyone, Nayak sir, Himanshu sir, for everything and for letting me speak on this topic for a while. So, coming back, I'm someone who has read this book twice. Once when I was a student, and it was in 2019, and recently when I actually got a perspective, a difference in the perspective of what this book is really about. And the universality of this book really fascinated me. So the second time when I was reading this book, I found that it is not just an autobiographical, I won't call it that, but more than that, it comprises of many autobiographical incidences, not just from one person's life, but from many. So I would call it an eclectic Indian book, which consists of our childhood. And that is what this book is, specifically for me. Because being in this position that I am, I found the experiences, the anecdotal experiences of 25 to 50 of my clients in this. So here, allow me to briefly introduce myself. I am Meenakshi Verma, and I am a trauma transcendence mentor who helps people come out of their trauma and live a life full of potential, financially, emotionally, physically, and psychologically. And in that pursuit, I have begun an unmasking movement, and that's why the masks are here, to help people really reveal themselves, just like I believe what Banka does in this book. And I'm really interested in somewhat reflecting upon whether this book really helped me get on with a lot of my clients, or I don't know. It is really fascinating for me. And to help you understand that a little bit, I would like to quote a few of the incidences from this book. In the very first chapter, we actually have a scene where people are sleeping together in the same room, huddled together. And it actually reminded me of two of my cases where in one instance, one of the girls, she found herself really terror-stricken because she was not allowed to move a muscle. So when everybody is huddled together and sleeping together, you are really not allowed to move a muscle, because if she and her sister did, they would be beaten black and blue by the father. So that is how this simple incident became traumatic for her. And so was the case with another of my clients who found herself for the very first time sexually harassed in that position. And nobody believed her. Sometimes we adults, we dilute the experiences of children, and that was what happened to her. So for me, this book is really powerful in many senses because it brings up a lot of discourses and it allows us to see how a child really goes through the developmental phases, be it moral development, be it sexual development, be it psychosocial, be it spiritual. And in that sense, it is really unique. To mention, I won't be able to actually list down all the incidences because it's very fascinating. I wish I could, but coming back to just one more, there is this one chapter in which Sir has talked about Jai Bangla. So it's a disease of the eye, conjunctivitis, but the incidents that leads to this really fascinated me. When you read this book, and if you have read this book, you'll find that, Banka, he has just given, they come to know about their exams. And he comes second. So he's a very brilliant student, but he comes second in the class and he feels like crying, but in the team spirit, he is just keeping himself together. And as he's keeping himself together, he is really bottling up a lot of emotions there. Once he comes out of this room, he really, itches his eyes, and in that, he starts to feel an irritation. In this book, you'll find a lot of interesting perspectives, controversies around this Jai Bangla. But for me, it's mostly psychosomatic. And it's brilliantly pictured in this. I really found it fascinating. To somehow, link it to my mentees, I would say that it tends to register emotions as physical symptom rather than as signals that something deserves their attention. And we do that a lot. Our bodies are very loyal to us, by the way. If we don't address our emotions, our body definitely will. And it's like that inner tension, from the morning we are talking about wars. So it's like that inner war. And I guess Ajay sir also talked about how that seed, what is that seed from where everything begins? And I guess this book is really beautiful in that perspective. So yeah, this book, as I said, is akin to an eclectic journal of childhood, a collection of childhood experiences put together in an archetype. That is what I find Banka as. It's really fascinating to oscillate, to navigate through this oscillating journey between anger leading to guilt and fear. I guess somewhat our primitive emotions that are there. And how this tension actually shapes Banka's consciousness from being an innocent child into an adult, free of his guilt and doubt. Well, you can see that this book actually incorporates a lot of psychological theories, be it Freudian, be it Jungian, be it by some of the things that Erikson has talked about. And in that perspective, as I said again, it's brilliantly crafted. So, yeah, if I'm allowed to digress just a little bit, but contributively, herein actually comes the idea of the masks. And I usually explain it in this manner, but before I do that, I hope nobody is scared of the masks. Yes? I really hope. If I terrify you, then I'm really sorry. But suppose, I'm just about to wear the mask just for 30 seconds. So you see, when we are born with a lot of potential. But then over a period of time, certain incidences happen to us. And that is what we see in Banka's life happening. He's navigating through all the psychosocial crises that he confronts. That's when the first mask usually goes on. And we start to question a lot of things around us. When we grow in this area, gradually there comes a point when there are a lot of emotions with a lot of unanswered questions. And that's what I like to represent by this red mask. There's a lot of pain and suffering, and we don't know how to address that. Finally, when we have no option left, we go for 2-3 things. One, we suppress it and we become overly sensitive. Or second, we completely desensitize ourselves. And that's where the third mask goes in. When we come to Banka, he is actually on this stage, because he is not an adult yet, so he is still on this stage, in this stage. And as we reach to the end of the book, we find that he wants to delve deep, consciously into his pit of emotions and whatever chaos that he's feeling within. And that, I guess, really summarizes what healing is about. So, it goes like this, and quote unquote, if this hell was his fate, his ultimate destiny, then he would delve deep into its bottomless pit, fully conscious, an endless fall into the hell was far better than the deception involved in keeping up appearances. So let's really connect back to that inner Banka, and that is what my movement is actually about, to unmask and evolve. And for that, sometimes we do require a mentor. Just like Banka does in this book, he has 2 mentors, just found in his daily life experiences, one in the Mama and one in Ainto. And when you read this book, and I really urge, if you have not read this book, read it just like a human being, that's it. Just like a human being trying to see or look into a mirror of a lot of perspectives, and you will somewhere see that Banka from within you really peeping out. And at the end, I just want to say that this book, again, brilliantly ends, because at the end, you'll find this appropriate technique used by the author, where he leaves it open-ending. And I guess what I'm trying to say almost at the end is that, so we want a sequel. We really want a sequel which has the motive of, and I cannot express it in better words than what you have already written down, a motive that talks about the child that lingers in an adult. And for that child, the adult seeks to return to their childhood again and again. And that is how I would end it. Let's really find out this Banka within us, and let's really remove the masks. So thank you so much, and that's it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have been hearing about Banka for last 17, 18 years, and having seen a lot of him in practical life, because the boy used to live in my neighborhood, and I find all these very familiar things that he has detailed in the book in such a fascinating manner that it will be really a very flattering exercise to go through it once again. I believe all of us will enjoy this book, the Odia version as well as the English version. The English version, in fact, is important for our friends who are non-Odias, for our children also, who have learned to speak Odia but never really learned to read Odia. It's very important for them. I believe we should gift this book to our children, and so that they can read and understand a little bit of psychology of an Odia boy, or for that matter, a universal child. Thank you very much.
Hello. I request the translator of the book, Professor Himanshu Mohapatra, to give his translator's remark. Please.
Thank you, Paresh Babu, and yeah, of course. Mr. Prados Mohanty, the chairman of this panel, and he also launched this book. The writing trio here, Satya Babu, Paresh Patnaik and Diptiranjan Patnaik, and the august audience before me. In fact, what Meenakshi just said here, talking about the book, appreciating the book, going into raptures over the book, I take it as a compliment to the language in which she read the book. I believe that she did not read it in the original, that is Odia. So she read it in English translation. So if reading this English translation could send her into raptures like this is the surest sign of the success of the translation. And this is also borne out by two beautiful blurbs that this book has, one from Chandrahas Chaudhary and the other one from Paul Zakaria. And both these blurbs tell us about how this book is a tribute to the eternal mystery, the enactment of the eternal mystery of growing up. So, having said that, I'll very quickly say why I as a translator chose this book. People have different reasons. Meenakshi could have chosen it probably would have chosen it from her own wellness, transcendence, mentoring point of view. But I, as a writer, as a critique, chose it because this book is the closest approximation to what we can have in Odia, what the Kunstler Roman that we can have in Odia, an artist novel. Artist novel, it describes the development of an artist from his young days to his early maturity, early young adult days, and this book is about that. It's not exactly a replication of Portrait of the Artist as a young man, because writing is never really made explicit here, but it is a thread that runs through the book. And in translating this book, I have two models of translation, translating from Odia into English. One model is that you produce a text which reads like an English text. That the translation should be the text which the author would have written had he written it directly in English. And there is the other model which says that translation should not be the text that the author would have written had he written directly in English. But I think that the truth lies in between. It can neither be a completely English text, nor can it be a completely Odianized text. So I have chosen a golden mean between these two models in translating this, and I invite you to read it, respond to it, and let me know how you react to it. Thank you very much.
Let us start our panel discussion on the future of Odia short story. That is Odia short story and its future. Our panelists in this discussion are Satya Mishra. Satya Mishra sought to fame in early 70s of last century as a pioneer of new wave fiction in Odia. His first volume of short stories, Bahubachana, was published in 1973, after which he disappeared from the literary scene, which intrigued his readers. After a prolonged hibernation, he resurrected himself in 2013 and recaptured the slot vacated by him earlier. His second and third volume of short stories have been published in 2019-2022. His stories are firmly rooted in daily lives of average individuals, often delving into their psyche without appearing intrusive. Some of his stories in translation have appeared in Indian and international magazines. And the other panelist we have with us is Dipti Ranjan Patnaik, the writer of this Banka Harichandan book. Apart from being an author of 8 volumes of short stories and several translations, Dipti Ranjan Patnaik, a professor of English at Banaras Hindu University, is a prolific writer of essays and literary criticism. He did his research on children's literature at Ohio State University, USA, on a Fulbright fellowship in 1996-97. He represented India at Cambridge University Young Authors Seminar in 2000 on a Charles Wallace British Council Fellowship. Since then, he has been contributing scholarly essays to major translation studies, journals, and anthologies. His contribution to the field of translation studies won him Indo-Shastri Canadian Fellowship in 2009. He also held the prestigious Erickson Scholar in Residence 2011. For his creative writing, he has won the National Katha Award in 1994, the Jhankar Award in 2005, and the Odisha State Sahitya Academy Award in 2013, among others. So our subject is Odia short story and its future. The short story form, as we witness today or as we read today, is more than 120 years old. Fakir Mohan wrote the first Odia short story in its present form or modern form in the year 1898, named Rebati. During the last 120 years, hundreds of thousands of short stories are written by so many writers in Odia. It is observed that nowadays thousands of short stories are written in Odia in a year. As reported by Saralajatira.com founder Sri Sarala Das, more than 6,000 stories are published in Odisha by more than 1,600 fiction writers in the year 2021. At this juncture, we are discussing the future of Odia short stories. At present, we have a good number of literature magazines published carrying short stories, poetry, discussion, essays, etc. The magazines are published from nook and corner of Odisha and circulated among enthusiastic readers. It is also observed that during Puja season, that is in the month of October and September and October, Puja issue magazines number is more than 200. Though these magazines are not regularly published. However, these magazines carry a good number of short fiction to reach readers. Second, there are short story collections by one author and anthologies of multiple authors. The number of books published each year is more than thousands. And the share of short story collection is 30% of the total books published. Poetry being the number one books published each year. Third, there are several creative ways fiction writers are using with evolving space of the internet through electronic media like Facebook and WhatsApp. Though the number is less as compared to poetry, still a number of fictionists have chosen the media to reach readers. E-books, audiobooks and podcasts are yet to flourish properly in Odisha. Properly in Odia language, though the experiment is still on. A number of new age technocrats are working on it. Modern technology has also been kind to the short story genre. With the set of short story apart compared to a full-length novel, this short story today could be made accessible to readers in a much quicker time frame and at a much lower cost through online magazines. It was now cheaper to produce and distribute more short fiction than ever before. The flexibility made it possible to download a short story on a website, on a mobile phone or in a tablet, and the short story could be read and enjoyed anywhere and anytime. You will find thousands of short story books on online stores like Amazon and Flipkart. Over the years, exclusive Odia online stores are also there in the market and they are appreciated by customers of fiction lovers. However, the sale of Odia short story book is on higher side as in comparison to other sections like poetry, drama and non-fiction. Times are changing. Can short stories change with them? The theme of the story, the setting, the plot, the characters, the conflict, the turning point and the resolution were all contained in a short space, and it is precisely this compactness that made this form of writing so appealing. But serious readers complain that the short stories circulated, published through electronic media are cheap, sometimes vulgar, very precise, small in size, less literary value, sometimes jokes, sometimes distortion of history, sometimes with political purposes. Whether this degradation of short story in the present day scenario will give us bright future of Odia fiction, let us discuss. So I will like to ask our esteemed guests in the panel, what is your opinion on future of short stories at the age of technology, at the age of artificial intelligence and chat GPT? What do you predict for the future of Odia short stories? I request Satya Mishra, esteemed writer, to speak on the subject.
The future of Odia short stories in the light of advent of chat GPT and other artificial intelligence tools. I take a break. I observe that there are no non-Odia persons in the audience now, so it is better to discuss the future of Odia short stories in Odia language. So ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ମୁଁ ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ କହୁଛି ଯେ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଚାଟ୍ ଜିପିଟି କିମ୍ବା ଯେକୌଣସି ଆର୍ଟିଫିସିଆଲ ଇଣ୍ଟେଲିଜେନ୍ସ ଟୁଲ୍କୁ ସର୍ଟ ଷ୍ଟୋରିଜ୍ର ପର୍ସପେକ୍ଟିଭରେ ଦେଖିବା ତାହେଲେ ଭବିଷ୍ୟତରେ କ'ଣ ହେବ ଏ ବିଷୟରେ ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ସ୍ଥିର ଦୃଢ଼ ମତ ଦେଇପାରିବି ନାହିଁ। ତା'ର କାରଣ ହେଉଛି ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଆର୍ଟିଫିସିଆଲ ଇଣ୍ଟେଲିଜେନ୍ସ ଗୋଟେ ଇଭଲ୍ଭିଂ ଷ୍ଟେଜ୍ରେ ଅଛି ଆଉ ଆମର ଲେଖକମାନେ ତାକୁ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ଭାବରେ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରିବାର ଶିଖି ନାହାନ୍ତି କିମ୍ବା ଶିଖିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁନାହାନ୍ତି କିମ୍ବା ସେଟା ଗୋଟେ ଅସ୍ପୃଶ୍ୟ ବସ୍ତୁ ବୋଲି ଧରି ନେଇଛନ୍ତି, ଆମେ କାହିଁକି ତାକୁ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରିବା। ଏ ବିଷୟରେ ମୁଁ ନିଜର ଗୋଟିଏ ଛୋଟ ଅନୁଭୂତି କହୁଛି ଯେ ପ୍ରାୟ 2 ମାସ ତଳେ ପ୍ରକାଶିତ ହୋଇଥିବା ସମ୍ବାଦର ବାର୍ଷିକ ସଂଖ୍ୟାରେ ଗୋଟିଏ ଗଳ୍ପ ମୁଁ ନିଜେ ଲେଖିଥିଲି, ଯେଉଁଥିରେ ଚାଟ୍ ଜିପିଟି ଗୋଟେ ଚରିତ୍ର, ଗୋଟେ କ୍ୟାରେକ୍ଟର ହେଇକି ମୁଁ ନେଇଥିଲି। ଆଚ୍ଛା, ପ୍ରାୟ ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ ଗଳ୍ପ ପଢ଼ିବା ପରେ କିଛି ପାଠକ ଫୋନ୍ କରନ୍ତି, ପ୍ରତିକ୍ରିୟା ପ୍ରକାଶ କରନ୍ତି, ଆଉ ମୋଷ୍ଟଲି ସେହି ସବୁ ପ୍ରତିକ୍ରିୟା କମ୍ପ୍ଲିମେଣ୍ଟାରୀ ଥାଏ। ଏଇଟା ମୋ ପାଇଁ ବି ଗୋଟେ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟ। ଆଉ ମୁଁ ଜଣେ ମାତ୍ର ପାଠକ ପ୍ରଥମରେ ଶ୍ରୀ ତରୁଣକାନ୍ତି ମିଶ୍ର ମୋତେ ଅଭିନନ୍ଦନ ଜଣାଇଲେ ଯେ ଏଭଳିଆ ଗଳ୍ପ ଆଗରୁ ଲେଖା ହେଇନଥିଲା, ବହୁତ ଭଲ। କିନ୍ତୁ ମୋର ଯେତିକି ପ୍ରତିକ୍ରିୟା ଆସେ ପ୍ରାୟ ସେତିକି ଆସିଲା। ଅଧିକାଂଶ ପାଠକ ମୋତେ କହିଲେ ଯେ ଏଇଟା କନଫ୍ୟୁଜିଂ, perhaps you have tried to confuse the readers। ମୁଁ ସେଇ ଓପିନିଅନ୍ ୱିଥ୍ ହମ୍ବଲନେସ୍ ମୁଁ ଗ୍ରହଣ କଲି, କିନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ ଏଥିରେ ମାନେ ଏଇଟା ବହୁତ ଭଲ ଓପିନିଅନ୍ ହେଲା, ମୋତେ ଭଲ ଲାଗିଲା। କାରଣ ଯେଉଁ ଜିନିଷ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟ ଷ୍ଟେଜ୍ରୁ ଉପରକୁ ଯାଇନାହିଁ ତାକୁ ହଠାତ୍ ପ୍ରୟୋଗ କରିବା ବୋଧହୁଏ ଉଚିତ ନୁହଁ। ଆଉ ଗୋଟିଏ ଜିନିଷ କହିବାକୁ ଗଲେ, ଆର୍ଟିଫିସିଆଲ ଇଣ୍ଟେଲିଜେନ୍ସର ପ୍ରୟୋଗ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଏଇ ଯେଉଁ କୃତ୍ରିମ ବୁଦ୍ଧିମତ୍ତା ଆମକୁ ଏମିତି ସବୁ ଉପାଦାନ ଯୋଗାଇ ଦେଉଛି, ଆମେ ଯାହା ପ୍ରମ୍ପ୍ଟ ଦେବା ସେଇ ଅନୁସାରେ ଉପାଦାନ ଆସିଯାଉଛି, ଫିନିଶ୍ ପ୍ରଡ଼କ୍ଟ ଆସିଯାଉଛି, ଗପ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆସୁଛି, କବିତା ବି ଆସୁଛି। ତାଦ୍ୱାରା କ୍ରିଏଟିଭିଟି ନଷ୍ଟ ହେବାର ସମ୍ଭାବନା ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ରହୁଛି। ଜଣେ ଯଦି ନିଜର ସୃଜନ ଶକ୍ତିକୁ ବ୍ୟବହାର ନ କରି ସେ ପ୍ରମ୍ପ୍ଟ ଦେବ ଯେ 5ଟା କ୍ୟାରେକ୍ଟର ରହିବ, ତା ଭିତରୁ 2ଟା ଫିମେଲ୍ କ୍ୟାରେକ୍ଟର ରହିବ, ସେ ଗପର ବେସ୍ ହେଇଥିବ ଯେ ରିଲେସନସିପ୍ ୱିଦିନ୍ ଦି ଫ୍ୟାମିଲି କିମ୍ବା ଲଭ୍ କିମ୍ବା ୱାର୍ କିମ୍ବା ଇକୋଲୋଜି ଏନିଥିଙ୍ଗ, ଯଦି ସେ ଏତିକି ପ୍ରମ୍ପ୍ଟ ଦେବ ତାହେଲେ ୱିଦିନ୍ ସେକେଣ୍ଡସ୍, ଇଭେନ୍ ସେକେଣ୍ଡ ବି ଲାଗୁନି, ଗୋଟେ ଗଳ୍ପ ଆସିଯିବ। ଯଦି ସେ ପ୍ରମ୍ପ୍ଟ ଦେବ ଯେ 150 ଶବ୍ଦ ଭିତରେ କହ, 150 ଶବ୍ଦ ଭିତରେ ଆସିଯିବ। ଏତେ ଶୀଘ୍ର ରେଡିମେଡ୍ ଗଳ୍ପ ଯଦି ଜେନେରେଟ୍ ହେଇପାରିବ, କେବଳ ଗଳ୍ପ ନୁହେଁ ପୋଏମ୍ ମଧ୍ୟ, କିନ୍ତୁ ମୁଁ ଗଳ୍ପ ବିଷୟରେ ଯେହେତୁ ଆଲୋଚନା କରୁଛି ତେଣୁ ସେଇ ବିଷୟଟା କହିଲି। ଯଦି ହେଇଯିବ ତାହେଲେ କେତେକ ଲେଖକ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଯେଉଁମାନେ ନିଜର ମେଧାଶକ୍ତି ବ୍ୟବହାର ନ କରି କେବଳ ଆର୍ଟିଫିସିଆଲ ଇଣ୍ଟେଲିଜେନ୍ସକୁ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରି ଶହ ଶହ ହଜାର ହଜାର ଗଳ୍ପ ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରିଦେଇପାରିବେ। ଏଇ ଯେଉଁ AI ଜେନେରେଟେଡ୍ ସର୍ଟ ଷ୍ଟୋରିଜ୍ ବୋଧ ହୁଏ ଏବେ ବି ଆସିଗଲାଣି, ବେଳେବେଳେ ସେଇ ସନ୍ଦେହ ଆସୁଛି। ତେଣୁ ଭବିଷ୍ୟତରେ କ'ଣ ହେବ कहवा कष्ट किंतु आम केवल अवलोकन करूँ जे कौन कौन हो पारे।
सत्य भाई जो समस्या सम्मुखीन होते मु 1993 मसीह मोर गोटे गल्प बाहर सूर्योदय केतोटी निश्चित ताकू पढ़ी बहुत लोग कहले से बोधे नुआ नुआ लिखुंट और ठकाठकी करने चेष्टा कर प्रकृत से गपटा लिखाई गोटे छोट गाँ केमिति टेक्नोलोजी प्रभाव रे आसी से समग्र यांत्रिक सभ्यता हो जाता एवं ता विरोध रे गोटे छोट आध्यात्मिक प्रतिरोध से गपर मु देखापी चेष्टा करी। परवर्ती समय से गपटा अवश्य ओडिशार आदृत नहले भी सेटा जातीय स्तर कथा पुरस्कार पाइबार समर्थ होता। सेटा होची सेतलकू फुल दम रे जो विश्व बाजार खोली न थाए बहुदेशीय बाजार आम अजाणतर आम चेतना को कबलित करी आम दैनंदिन जीवनचर्या और कल्पशक्ति को किपरि नियंत्रण कलानी तार एक डायस्टोपिक पिक्चर मु आंकी 1993 मसीह लिखित मो गल्प सूर्योदय केतोटी निश्चित। भारतीय अर्थनीति विश्व बाजार आड़ को संपूर्ण उन्मुक्त करदेवार एक दशंधि पूर्वर काकतालीय न्याय से वर्ष प्रकाशित होता जॉर्ज रिट्जर प्रसिद्ध पुस्तक दि मैकडोनाल्डाइजेशन ऑफ सोसाइटी। समाज विज्ञानी रिट्जर अमेरिका सभ्यतार किपरि एक प्रकार सांस्कृतिक एकत्व विराजमान कलानी से संपर्क में चेतावनी शुणाइथिले। बजार अर्थनीति उन्नत जोगाजोग व्यवस्था और विज्ञापन व्यवसाय समस्तंकर खाइबा पीवा पोशाक पिंधिबा एपरिकी चिंता करिबा कर्म को एक प्रकार कर सारलानी। ग्रीटिंग्स कार्ड तैयारी करथिबा आर्किज कंपनी वैलेंटाइन्स डे, रोज डे, फादर्स डे, मदर्स डे आदि पालन करने किपरि एमिति प्रोत्साहित करुछि जे ए दिवस विषय आदौ किछि जानि नथिया व्यक्ति मध्य पाଳି न पारिले निजे पछरे पड़ जाउछि भावी आत्मश्लाघा अनुभव करुछि। उपनिवेशी व्यवस्था रे आमर भूई अर्थनीति और शरीर बंधा पड़िथिला। एबे आमर अनंत भोगलिप्सारु आमे निजको एक सांस्कृतिक दासत्व समर्पण कर देइछु। मईसी भली गोठरे रहियाकू और अर्थगुध्र मानक चक्रांतर परिचालित होगाकू आमर भाग्य और भवितव्य बोली स्वीकार करिनेछु। पराधीनतार गोटे पर्यायर मुकुली एक अधिकतर शक्तिशाली व्यवस्था रे बंदी हो जाइछु। विभिन्न प्रकार साहित्य माफिया स्वीकृति पुरस्कार मनस्क विकल दौड़ नाना प्रकार सालिस माध्यम रे बजार रे तिष्ठि रही बजार संस्कृतिर निमित्त हवा कथा मु कहू नाही। सचेतन दूरदृष्टि संपन्न साहित्यिक ए अवस्था को बुझी पारुची मनीषर मुक्तिकामी मन को आंदोलित करि पारुची। ठीक दार्शनिक बेंजामिन बार्बर भली। बार्बर कहवा कथा हला बाह्य आचार व्यवहार समस्ते परस्पर को अनुकरण करुथिले हैं अंतर्मन रे निजर सांस्कृतिक स्वातंत्र्य और परिचय को पूरापूरी छाड़ी पारंती नाही। पृथ्वी पृष्ठ चली विभिन्न प्रकार जिहाद यही बाह्य एकत्व और परिचयगत विविधता को संरक्षण करिवार मानसिकता मध्य लड़ाईर सामाजिक परिप्रकाश। आज युद्ध संपर्क जो प्रथम सेशन चलीथिला सेथिरे मध्य चारोटी पर्सपेक्टिव कथा तापर विचार करा जाउतला किंतु एईटा एई अधिकांश जो युद्ध वर्तमान चली तार मूल रही निजर सांस्कृतिक परिचय हरइबार भय से विषय हुए तो विशेष आलोकपात करा जाई पारि थांता एवं वर्तमान जो साहित्यिक से समस्या को एवं भल करी तार गभीरता भितर को प्रवेश कले ता पछरे थिबा मानसिकता को बुझी पारंता एवं बेंजामिन बार्बर से संपर्क आमको एक अंतर्दृष्टि दे जाइछन्ति। हिंसार साधन होई से शक्ति से बजार ताकू जगाई दिए जहाँ बोधगम्य न होवारु से क्रांतिर आश्रय नहीं थाए। आम समाज रे जो चैट जीपीटी हो बा जो प्रकार टेक्नोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट होउची ताकू साधारण लोक आदौ खूब शीघ्र बुझी पारନ୍ତି नहीं एवं जेहेतु गोटे समाजटा तांको बोधगम्य हो न थाए तेणु ता विरोध विद्रोह ପାଇଁ ସେମାନେ हिंसा को आश्रय नहीं था बेले बेले एवं जेते जेते पृथ्वी जेते जेते युद्ध और आतंकवाद चली ता पछरे एई भले एक मानसिकता रही बोली बेंजामिन बार्बर सूचौଛନ୍ତି अतएव से निजको अधिक शक्ति न होई से शक्ति गुड़िकर चोरावाली निम्नगामी हो चलता है एवं आपण से जो महाशक्ति विरुद्ध रे जेते लड़ाई करेंगे सेते सेते शक्तिहीन हो कहीं से एभली तार काया विस्तार करिछि जे प्रतिरोधटा आपण को से प्रतिरोध को मध्य से ताकू गर्भसात करनिए साधारण मनुष्यर ही चरम असामर्थ्य को व्याख्या करी साहित्य तार चेतना को बलशाली करवा उचित कि ना तार विभिन्न पार्थक्य को आहुरी प्रसारित करी परस्पर विरोध रे लड़ाइबा उचित सामाजिक विभेदमान बा समाज तैयारी करिथिबा विभेद गुड़िक साहित्यिक सांप्रतिक संप्रसारित करी अस्तित्वहीन शत्रुमान विरुद्ध युद्ध घोषणा करिवो ए संपर्क रे मैथ्यू आर्नोल्ड को कवितार धाड़ीटे मन पड़े सांप्रतिक समाज को लक्ष्य करी सी लिखिथिले इग्नोरेंट आर्मीज क्लास बाय नाइट आधुनिक समाज रे मनुष्यर शक्तिर घन अंधकार युद्धरत पंजाए मूर्ख आजिर गाल्पिक कौन विश्वास करिवो जे समाज और जगत कौन अंतिम सत्य समाजर वर्गगुड़िक भितर थिबा विभेदर असल समस्या चराचर दुनियार समस्या गुड़िकर समाधान यही समाज मिलिबो ना मनुष्य को आध्यात्मिक सत्यर अनुसंधान करी समस्या गुड़िकर निराकरण करिवो साहित्यर दीर्घ इतिहास लक्ष्य कले प्रतीत हुए जे मूर्त और अमूर्त जगत मध्य आध्यात्मिक संपर्क जोड़वा साहित्यर सृष्टि होता जीवनर महत्तर लक्ष्य और मानवीय मूल्य आड़िकी प्राणी मनीष को उत्तोलित करने साहित्य आह्वान देता प्राणी मनीष पाखे थिबा समाज समेत समस्त साधन गुड़िक व्यवहार करी प्राणीत्वरू ताकू मुक्ति देवाई आलोक देखाइला यही आलोकर आवश्यकता और आह्वान सांप्रतिकता आज एकविंश शताब्दी आहरी बलवत्तर रही बोली मोर मत धन्यवाद
समय अतिक्रांत हो जाइए पैनल पई तेणु आम पैनल को ये बंद करुचु जदिव अनेक कथा आलोचना करिवार थिला तेबे मु धन्यवाद देवी आमर पैनलिस्ट मान को आई एम वेरी मच थैंकफुल टू आवर गेस्ट्स ऑन द डायस वुड लाइक टू थैंक आवर स्पॉन्सर्स who have made this event possible. Without their support, we would not be able to provide this unique opportunity. We are very much thankful to JM Baxi, NMDL, Evos Buildcon, Indian Oil, Life Insurance Corporation of India, Steel Authority of India, and Jindal Steel and Power. Thank you.